And let's take a look at the GBWC. Once again, this is the GBWC 13th tournament, and we have more results. We've been steadily following the results over the last few weeks, last few months. We've been looking at the final results for Japan, UK, EU, and the Middle East. I believe we've looked at all of that, and now finally the time has come. We have to look at Canada. We finally got the Canadian results. I also realized my little avatar guy is right there. There we go. So let's take a look at the results. So I have an interest in this, being Canadian, and we've had some pretty good luck with the GBWC in recent years. Of course, we've had Simon Lamb win the entire tournament, the World Finals, in the 11th tournament, and then the 12th tournament we had Ryan Lau get second place overall. So amazing stuff. I believe it's second place. So amazing results for Canada. Let's see what we have in store for this year. This is the under 20 course. And let's take a look at this Lost Throne. Lost Throne by Matthew Leung. The story set in the Middle Ages. The knight is from the HGG Kluxgian. And using different pieces, it says here the shoulders use knees from the HG Kebali. Small LED is hidden in the head. I'm just kind of looking around just quickly over the descriptions. They go quite in depth regarding all the pieces used. Details of weathering and blood are hand painted at the end. So this is kind of like a medieval fantasy build, and a really nice like type treatment here with the it looks like it might have been stenciled, the Lost Throne. Let's go and see the pictures once again. Unfortunately, the pictures on the site for most of these builds, something happens and they get like compressed or something like that. If I can find their Twitter account or Instagram, those photos will usually be a lot better. But this is what we have to work with now. There you can see the throne and the sort of rocky base. This very violently piercing through this this one here. Yeah, so this is the Lost Throne. Pretty cool. When I see so this, to me, this looks like it's playing with scale, just because like you have a throne like this, it looks like it could seat these Gundams. So does that mean that this throne is in fact like ginormous, or is this, you know, supposed to be a kind of out of scale scene? That may or may not be a problem, depending on who's looking at this, who's the judge. But if they wanted to be a bit more clear regarding the scale, they could have other things around the scene, whether it be people or furniture or other things that you might see in a throne room, like windows. That might be a good thing to kind of help communicate the scale. But as far as like the composition goes, I do like the composition and the sort of central focus of this of the Gyan, and how it's like it's this white knight and it's in the center. I like it. It's good. So that is the first place, and we'll be going to Japan. Let's take a quick look at second and third. Ordnung, I'm not even going to try and pronounce this, from builder Aoi. Even if humanity is fated never to escape destiny, it can still enact a final convergence within it. All human beliefs and pursuits ultimately return to nothingness. Okay. It's a lot. It's a lot to read right now. But it seems like they've got a lot of technical things going on regarding like the sort of backdrop of how this all works. Okay. It looks like the base is mounted on a mirror, And we've seen stuff like that in like the IPMS for cars and stuff, so that you can kind of appreciate all the complex building going on the underside of a model. This is a nice shot, so you can see all the details. It looks like a lot of work has gone into like creating extra little detail here, like this like triangular pattern of circles. This bridge, if you want to call it that, you know, this raised platform with the human figure there. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so all in all, this is nice as well. So that got second place. And this is third place, Zeta Shiki from Azrael. Custom color to mimic Zeta Gundam, hand-painted base color sniper rifle from Sniper Gundam 1 in 144. This is, I think there's something to be said about, you know, kind of describing all the different pieces that you used and the background and the story of your model. But there's also something to be said about a nice, clear, and concise description right here. I appreciate that. And sometimes you can just look at a model and it speaks for itself, you know? And this has been, it's a custom color to mimic the Zeta Gundam, it says. They didn't mention that there's weathering. Some nice weathering here, using not only just like a darker color, but also some browns and stuff to create a bit of a rust effect, and some lighter flecks on the darker blue part. So yeah. And once again, this is like third place. But anyways, let's take a look at the over 21 course. Once again, this is the GBWC 13th tournament. This is now Canada. Finally, we have the results for Canada. Let's go from 3 to 1. How about that? We've been looking at the first place entries, but let's start with number 3 first of all. Turn of a Tide by Ben. Added internal structures for Alex so that the mobile suit can create a more dynamic pose when twisting. Enriched details. Length Alex thighs and slim down feet so it looks for agile. Okay. Added internal structures for camphor legs, as you can see them from some angles. Okay. So we have like this battle scene. I guess this takes place in the show itself. Really nice usage of like the smoke and the battlefield. It feels like you can get the feeling of the carnage of the battle. You can see this car here is kind of like reacting to like the smoke billowing. There's cracks on the ground. This car here is like, you know, getting grabbed by the camphor. So that's pretty cool. Again, I'm not too familiar with the anime itself, this particular story, GBWC. So that was third place. Turn of a Tide by Ben. Now let's look at the Dom 2 by Hobart. Really, really talented. I believe they're based in Toronto. This also won the regionals for Anime North. That happened like in the early summer, late spring. Anime North. So let's see. Dom 2 ground type is a mid-war retrofit of the Dom 2 featuring extensive applique armor for increased protection. Built from the MG Dom version 1.5, nearly every part was reshaped with epoxy putty and plastic art. Yeah, that's really, you can really see it. Inspired by Katoki's Dom Tropin and Kondo's designs, it blends modern armor with a crude wartime casting. Over 150 custom bolts and detailed components were added to enhance the realism and visual interest. Another fairly concise description here, which I appreciate. Once again, I think we're going to have to go investigate further, look at their Instagram account. Shot. possibly from an anime convention or otherwise some other show. Yeah, you can kind of tell what it is, right? But just like it's a DOM, but it just has all these little details going on that make it feel a little different, yet still very much in keeping with the sort of overall Gunpla aesthetic, mixed with the sort of almost World War II like feeling as well. So very very nice. Okay, tell you what, let's look. Okay, well we'll do that after. I was gonna look at some pictures on the Instagram account, but yeah, awesome work. So much little details going on. Uh, there's like this like fabric or some other kind of material covering up some parts. All the little bolts, 150 custom bolts. The eye, like, I think it's one of those things like the more you look at it, the more you can appreciate. But the overall impression, you kind of feel like, oh, I understand what this is. I know. But again, looking at it closer, so many awesome details. So, and I really appreciate that. So that is the Dom 2, second place by Hobart. So this is, now we are looking at the first place, Shattered Frontline by Little Rice. Shattered Frontline captures the decisive moment when the EXS Gundam bursts through the ruins of a collapsed battlefield, built as a symbol of last stand resilience. Oh, I lost my place. The scene, contrast, destruction, and ascent. Cool tones around the mechanical mass, while orange accents act as visual hope markers. Yeah, so let's just kind of go around. Weathering combines enamel washes, oil modulation, dry brushing, and subtle edge chipping to preserve scale realism. Light oil streaks suggest wear. The shattered base uses layered plot plate and plastic rods heat warped to mimic collapsing armor and torn structural beams. Yeah, amazing work. A lot of work went into this, obviously. Let's just go through the pictures. To me, I look at this, and it looks like something that could be on a hobby magazine. Like, to me, this feels exactly like the type of thing the hobby magazines in Japan are looking for. Maybe I'm completely off base with that, but like that was like my impression. This seems exactly like the style. And again, much like the one that we had looked at previously, there's a lot of details going on here, but you kind of can see it very clearly, and the more you look at it, the more you can kind of appreciate what's going on. But it just is a very clear model, in my opinion, and I can see why it got first place. So as far as like the details go, we'll try and bring up the Instagram account. As far as the details go, we do see this in other builds where we're seeing a platform that is at an angle. As you can see, it this here is not simply flat, parallel to the table, right? Instead, it's at an angle, and then the model itself is kind of attached to this piece at an angle, and you just get a better look at the work on the diorama base itself, right? But also it kind of acts as a bit of a frame for the model, like a bit of a backdrop for the model itself. So I think that was really well done. We do have a plaque here at the front, and yeah, it's also really nice looking from all the angles, as you can see. That's something that's important, I think. So very nice job from Little Rice. Shattered Frontline. A lot of work has gone into all the little details, and I think at this point we can kind of it's chunky. We can go and try and find the Instagram accounts of these two builders. This is like the PDF that he made, kind of going over the highlights of the build, which we did look at previously, way back in like April or something like that. and just a really nice overview of the little details that he did. Applique armor, if I'm pronouncing that right. Wire catcher, a sharp blade to cut cables and wires at head height, found on IFVs. So yeah, it's like this combination of like real historical, or rather like real military details mixed with this science fiction mech, and I think it's a really nice blend. I've seen this application before, like the Zimmerit pattern. However, very interesting is the scale. I feel like has been properly like accounted for, because sometimes when I see the Zimmerit pattern, it's like it's seemingly not thinking about the scale, which again, we kind of talked about this before. Sometimes it doesn't matter for some judges, for some people looking at stuff, and then for other people, maybe that's a sticking point. But I think that they thought about it. They properly accounted for it, so we can kind of find some other pictures of the process here. Is it this is the same one? I think it is. Yeah, the DOM. Yeah, and we're just looking at the extra details that went into all this work. So amazing stuff, like the amount of putty and extra plot plate, just to get that right feeling, the right shape, you know, to make it more evocative of like Koji Kondo. I believe that's the designer. Make it a bit more like in keeping with that style. Okay. There's like a video kind of showing all the process. Beautiful stuff. So yeah, and he also built this recently for Argama Hobby. I think it was the Argama Hobby competition. And this is like his G-Quax build, which is so sick. Also very sick. It also kind of Dom spotted. How's it going, old type? Very much in keeping with the other piece, right? It still feels like you can kind of get a sense of Hubert's style here, kind of bringing in the Gunpla feeling mixed with like a much more grounded military kind of vibe, right? I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah, beautiful stuff. So now let's bring up the first place winner. So Than is from Edmonton, Alberta. So between Than and Ryan Lau, we have a lot of strong builders from that region. So that's pretty interesting. One of my favorite angles to view the build, it shows the movement of the mobile suit matching exactly to my imagination. I'm so glad I can pull this pose from an EXS because the original kit is very limited regarding the articulation. I did some extra work inside the inner frame to make it more dynamic, okay? Yeah, there's no other pictures there. Yeah, there you go, Alberta. Let's see. Okay, there's just the one photo. There will always be errors, mistakes here and there, but I will cheer on it and strive on my next build. As always, happy modeling, everyone. Again, I'm trying. Oh, I gotta get in close here. I didn't notice the hand. We have a hand on the ground there. There is some smoke, like there is some like you know, some of that fluffy stuff, you know, cotton balls or whatever, stretched out and painted, but not too much. What's this? Quick task of the day. I didn't have much time for Gunpla today, but I managed to fit in a short build to satisfy the itch. Cut a desired gap on the part. Measure a square plot to fit. Chamfer the outer edge and add panel line. Test and fit the detail piece. Wow, So that's how he made that detail. So cutting it out and then chamfering it and then putting it back in. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. There you go. Very cool. Let's see, what else here? Got home after the convention, felt like sitting down at my workbench. A simple detail of the rivets, and I thought I could just take a step-by-step easy one. Okay. Okay, so he marked out the hole here, or rather the hole is maybe a part of the model. Then he drilled it through, as you can see. And then he put a piece of plot plate on the back. And now the detail looks a lot more crisp, right? Like the way that this looks so much more crisp than that. I think that's what we're seeing here. Oh, and it's not over yet because then you take a it's not over yet because then you take a piece of circular flat plate and then you fill it in, and I guess it's been chamfered as well. And it looks like there's a little dimple impression in there too. It's like kind of subtle. Wow, look at that. Look at that. All that just for that. That's what it takes to be a champion. I'm not sure if we're seeing any other shots of this build in particular. Oh yeah. Yeah. Itself. Oh, this is a really good shot. That's a really good shot where you can see all the weathering. And yeah, so to me, when I think about Gunpla weathering, to me in my head it's different than weathering Maschinen Krieger. Like Maschinen Krieger, it's fun to go like full on and make it look busted up, dirty, rusty and crusty. But with Gundam, I like it when a model, like the overall impression of the model, still feels like it's a white, blue, and orange Gundam, right? Like an off-white, light gray Gundam, so on and so forth. I like that overall impression, and then when you look up closely, you see all the detail work. You know, all the extra detail work, all the extra detail painting, and it's never the overriding thing. It actually shows a lot of restraint. Like, it shows a lot of restraint and control, and I think that in painting competitions, that's what judges want to see. They want to see your control. And so if you look at this circular part here, we have some rust, and then we actually have a bit of that staining of the rust in streaks, right? But it's very subtle, and we see it here again. We have the flecks of the darker layer kind of being exposed. And then right here again, you see that tiny little streak, and here again. We talked about this. It all feels actually to scale, whatever. But this is all very, very, conscious of the scale. And so it's all those little things that I think build up to make this a winner. And here on this blue part, we're actually seeing a lot of like fading paint, like this impression of like paint that has been not just chipping but also fading because of like exposure. And here's another good example, or you could interpret it as like dust, space dust, if you will. That kind of has lightened this dark blue stuff. So really good. I wish there was more photos from this angle. I wish there was more photos, like, or rather from this up close, because this is a beautiful shot. But yeah, fantastic work, and worthy, incredibly worthy of the first place position.